Good morning, everyone. Today, I'd like to talk about a topic that often sparks curiosity, humor, and serious scientific debate. Why do women live longer than men? Around the world, it's a well documented fact. Women tend to outlive men by several years. While this trend may seem like a joke in popular culture, blaming risky stunts, stubbornness, or refusal to ask for directions, science and society offer a much deeper explanation. One of the most fundamental and fascinating biological reasons why women tend to live longer than men lies deep within our DNA, specifically in the difference between the sexes in terms of chromosomes. Women have two X chromosomes, XX, while men have one X and one Y chromosome, XY. Though this might seem like a minor genetic detail, it has significant implications for health, disease resilience, and ultimately lifespan. The X chromosome carries over 1,000 genes, many of which are critical for everyday bodily functions, including immunity, brain development, and cellular repair. Because women have two X chromosomes, they effectively have a backup system. If one of the X chromosomes carries a harmful mutation, the other can often compensate. This redundancy helps prevent the full expression of many genetic disorders, offering women a genetic shield that men simply don't have. In contrast, men only have one X chromosome. If that single X chromosome has a defective gene, there's no second X to offset the damage. The Y chromosome, which men inherit from their fathers, is relatively gene poor in comparison and cannot compensate for X-linked mutations. As a result, men are more susceptible to certain genetic diseases and conditions that can contribute to shorter lifespans. Numerous X-linked diseases illustrate this disparity. For instance, disorders such as hemophilia and Duchenne muscular dystrophy, which are caused by mutations in genes located on the X chromosome, occur much more frequently in men. These diseases can lead to serious health complications and often reduce life expectancy. Women can carry these genes, but due to the presence of a second, usually healthy X chromosome, they are less likely to be affected in a life-threatening way. Moreover, recent research has shown that the inactivation of one of the X chromosomes in women, a process called X inactivation, may itself provide health benefits. X inactivation is a natural process where one of the two X chromosomes in each cell becomes inactive, ensuring that females don't produce twice the amount of X-linked gene products. However, not all genes on the inactive X are completely turned off. Some escape inactivation, allowing for the expression of protective genes at a higher level in women, potentially contributing to improved immune responses and tissue repair mechanisms. Interestingly, this genetic advantage also plays a role in how men and women respond to infections and illnesses. Women generally have stronger immune systems, which may be partly due to genes on the X chromosome involved in immune regulation. This means that women can often fight off infections more effectively and recover more quickly, giving them a survival edge across a lifetime. There's also emergent evidence that mitochondria, the energy-producing structures in cells, may function more efficiently in females due to interactions with the X chromosome. Since mitochondrial DNA is inherited solely from the mother, evolutionary pressures may have fine-tuned mitochondrial function to work optimally in the female body. Efficient energy metabolism and better cellular function could contribute to the overall longevity of women. In summary, the presence of two X chromosomes gives women a distinct genetic advantage that influences many aspects of their health, from disease resistance to immune strength and cellular function. This chromosomal benefit helps explain, at a foundational biological level, why women on average live longer than men. It's a silent internal defense mechanism that works from birth, often unnoticed but undeniably powerful. Another major reason why women tend to outlive men lies in the powerful role played by hormones, especially estrogen, the primary female sex hormone. While estrogen is best known for regulating the female reproductive system, it also provides numerous protective benefits throughout the body. These benefits extend beyond fertility and reproduction, significantly influencing cardiovascular health, immune function, and even mental well-being, all of which contribute to a longer lifespan. One of the most well-researched benefits of estrogen is its positive effect on heart health. Cardiovascular disease remains the leading cause of death globally, especially in men. Estrogen appears to offer a natural defense against heart disease by helping to maintain flexible blood vessels and promoting good cholesterol, LDL, while reducing bad cholesterol, LDL. This balance improves overall blood circulation and reduces the risk of atherosclerosis, the hardening and narrowing of the arteries, which can lead to heart attacks or strokes. In addition to improving cholesterol levels, estrogen also helps regulate blood pressure by supporting the production of nitric oxide, a molecule that relaxes blood vessels and improves the elasticity. This allows blood to flow more easily and reduces strain on the heart. Women, especially before menopause, tend to have lower blood pressure on average compared to men. This cardiovascular advantage begins early in life and persists for decades, delaying the onset of heart disease in women. Estrogen's protective influence extends to the immune system as well. Studies show that women typically have a stronger and more responsive immune system than men, and estrogen is believed to be a major factor in this. Estrogen enhances the activity of various immune cells, such as T cells and B cells, which are crucial in fighting off infections. As a result, women generally mount stronger immune responses to bacteria and viruses, reducing the severity of infections and increasing survival rates in many cases. Interestingly, this immune advantage also means that women tend to respond better to vaccines. Research has shown that women produce higher levels of antibodies after vaccination compared to men. This heightened immune reactivity, driven in part by estrogen, gives women a better defense against infectious diseases throughout life. In an era where emerging diseases continue to pose global threats, this hormonal edge offers a significant survival advantage. Beyond the immune system, estrogen also has neuroprotective effects, playing a key role in brain health. It helps to regulate mood, enhance cognitive function, and protect brain cells from damage. Some studies suggest that estrogen may reduce the risk of developing neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. This brain protective role may explain why women often maintain cognitive function longer than men as they age, contributing to their increased longevity and quality of life in later years. Moreover, estrogen helps protect the skeletal system, reducing the risk of fractures and bone diseases such as osteoporosis, at least until menopause, when estrogen levels drop. Until that point, estrogen aids in calcium absorption and bone maintenance, keeping bones denser and stronger. While postmenopausal women become more vulnerable to bone loss, they still start from a position of strength in earlier years, reducing the overall burden of fractures that can severely impact longevity in older adults. While the hormonal landscape is complex and changes with age, especially during menopause, the early and mid-cycle protective effects of estrogen on multiple body systems are undeniable, from reducing the risk of heart attacks and infections to promoting mental clarity and bone strength. Estrogen acts as a silent guardian of female health, giving women a biological head start in the race of life. A significant contributor to the difference in life expectancy between men and women lies in behavior, specifically the tendency of men to engage in riskier behaviors throughout their lives. These behaviors, whether social, psychological, or cultural in origin, often result in higher rates of accidents, substance abuse, and violence, all of which are linked to earlier mortality. Unlike genetic or hormonal factors, these are largely influenced by societal norms and individual choices, making them an important and potentially modifiable area of focus. One of the most visible examples of risky behavior is reckless driving. Statistically, men are far more likely than women to be involved in traffic accidents, and they account for the vast majority of fatalities in road incidents. This is particularly pronounced among younger males who are more prone to speeding, aggressive driving, not wearing seatbelts, and driving under the influence. This behavior isn't merely a personal choice. It's often shaped by cultural expectations that equate masculinity with thrill-seeking or fearlessness. Substance use is another critical area where men exhibit higher risks. Tobacco use, alcohol abuse, and illicit drug consumption are consistently higher among men across most countries and age groups. Smoking alone is responsible for millions of premature deaths each year, with men typically starting earlier and smoking more than women. Similarly, excessive alcohol consumption is more common among men and is linked to liver disease, heart issues, cancers, and accidents, all major causes of premature death. The danger of alcohol and drug use extends beyond health damage. These substances often impair judgment and lead to dangerous situations, including physical altercations, drowning, overdoses, and criminal behavior. Men are statistically more likely to be victims and perpetrators of violent crimes, often as a result of intoxication or risky social environments. These dangers compound the risk of early mortality, especially in young and middle-aged men. Additionally, occupational risk-taking often starts early and is reinforced over time. Men are more likely to take up jobs in high-risk industries like construction, firefighting, mining, military service, and law enforcement. These professions carry a greater chance of injury, exposure to toxic substances, and even death. While these jobs are essential and admirable, the dangers they pose to health and longevity cannot be ignored when evaluating why men may have shorter lifespans. Cultural expectations and gender norms also play a role in fostering risky behavior. In many societies, masculinity is associated with toughness, fearlessness, and a tolerance for pain. As a result, men may downplay danger, take unnecessary physical risks, or refuse to seek help when needed. From an early age, boys may be subtly encouraged to be brave or man up rather than act cautiously. These behaviors, while sometimes glamorized, can have long-term negative consequences on health and safety. Moreover, mental health challenges often go unaddressed in men due to stigma and cultural conditioning. Men are more likely to cope with stress or emotional pain through externalized behaviors, such as aggression, substance use, or isolation, rather than seeking therapy or talking to someone. This avoidance of emotional vulnerability contributes to destructive coping mechanisms that increase mortality risk and reduce quality of life. Absolutely, all of these forms of risky behavior, whether self-imposed, culturally reinforced, or socially tolerated, accumulate over time and lead to chronic health conditions, injuries, and early death. Unlike biological factors, these behaviors are often preventable or at least modifiable with education, awareness, and cultural change. Until such shifts occur, risky behavior remains a major reason why men across the globe continue to live shorter lives than women. Another key factor that contributes to men having shorter lifespans than women is their reluctance to seek medical care. Across cultures and socioeconomic backgrounds, men are significantly less likely than women to visit doctors for routine checkups, report symptoms, or follow medical advice. This delay or avoidance of health care can allow preventable conditions to worsen over time, turning manageable health concerns into life-threatening issues. One of the underlying reasons for this avoidance is social conditioning and masculinity norms. From a young age, boys are often taught to suppress pain, tough it out, and avoid showing vulnerability. These attitudes frequently persist into adulthood, leading men to downplay symptoms or dismiss them altogether. Whether it's chest pain, fatigue, or mental distress, many men wait until symptoms become severe before taking them seriously, by which time treatment may be more difficult or less effective. Routine health screenings are another area where men fall behind. Women are generally more accustomed to regular visits to gynecologists for reproductive health, which fosters a habit of preventive care. In contrast, men are less likely to schedule or attend screenings for issues like blood pressure, cholesterol, prostate health, or colorectal cancer. These checkups are crucial for catching diseases early, yet many men avoid them, often until it's too late for early intervention. Mental health is another major aspect where men's avoidance of healthcare takes a toll. Depression, anxiety, and emotional stress are common in both genders, but men are far less likely to seek psychological help. The stigma around mental health, particularly among men, leads many to internalize their struggles, sometimes turning to substance abuse or aggression as coping mechanisms. This not only deteriorates mental well-being, but also increases the risk of suicide, which is significantly higher in men, especially middle-aged and elderly men. The consequences of neglecting healthcare are not limited to late diagnoses. They also include lower adherence to treatment. Even when men do visit a doctor and receive a prescription or lifestyle recommendation, they are statistically less likely to follow through. Whether it's taking medication consistently, adjusting their diet, or quitting smoking, men often fall short in compliance. This non-adherence leads to poorly managed chronic conditions like diabetes, hypertension, and heart disease, all of which can shorten life expectancy. There's also a general lack of awareness about men's health risks. Many men are unaware of how their lifestyle choices and family medical history can impact their health. Since they are less likely to engage in conversations about health, either socially or with professionals, they often miss out on vital knowledge that could motivate them to take preventive steps. Women, on the other hand, tend to be more proactive in research and health concerns and engaging in health discussions, which leads to more informed decision-making. Another important factor is limited access to male-specific health services or outreach. While there are many public health campaigns targeting women's health issues, such as breast cancer or reproductive health, there are fewer high-visibility campaigns focused on prostate cancer, testicular cancer, or male mental health. This lack of targeted education and outreach further reduces the likelihood that men will prioritize or understand their own health needs, reinforcing the cycle of avoidance. In sum, men's tendency to avoid healthcare, whether due to social norms, lack of awareness, or personal attitudes, plays a critical role in their reduced life expectancy. Preventable diseases go undetected, chronic conditions remain unmanaged, and mental health issues fester silently. Without regular engagement with the healthcare system, men miss countless opportunities to improve and prolong their lives through early diagnosis, timely treatment, and healthy lifestyle changes. Another significant factor contributing to the shorter average lifespan of men is their disproportionate representation in dangerous and high-risk occupations. Across industries and cultures, men are far more likely than women to work in physically demanding, hazardous, and sometimes life-threatening environments. These jobs often expose workers to accidents, long-term health complications, and even premature death, all of which add to the growing gap in life expectancy between the sexes. Occupational hazards come in many forms, from construction and mining to law enforcement, military service, firefighting, and long-haul trucking. These professions, while essential to society, often involve physically strenuous work, exposure to toxic substances, high levels of stress, and elevated risk of injury or death. Statistically, men occupy the overwhelming majority of these roles. For example, construction remains one of the deadliest industries, and more than 90% of the global construction workforce is male. Falls, machinery accidents, and electrical hazards are common in this line of work. The mining industry presents its own unique dangers. Prolonged exposure to dust and chemicals can lead to serious long-term health issues like black lung disease, silicosis, and various forms of cancer. Explosions, tunnel collapses, and equipment malfunctions are also frequent threats. Once again, this sector is dominated by men. Despite improvements in safety regulations and technology, the work environment remains inherently risky, with long-term health consequences that can shorten lifespans considerably. In firefighting and emergency response, men account for the vast majority of personnel. While these jobs are often admired for their heroism, they come with extreme risks, running into burning buildings, exposure to toxic smoke and chemicals, and suffering physical trauma or cardiovascular strain. Firefighters are also at greater risk for developing respiratory illnesses and certain cancers due to the repeated inhalation of hazardous fumes over the years. This repeated prolonged exposure can quietly erode health over time, even in those who appear physically fit. Military service is another profession that demands significant physical sacrifice, often with life-threatening consequences. Men constitute the majority of military personnel worldwide and are more frequently deployed to combat zones or assigned to physically intensive roles. Risks include not just injury or death in battle, but also long-term effects like post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, traumatic brain injury, TBI, and exposure to harmful chemicals such as Agent Orange or burn pit toxins. These conditions can significantly impact both physical and mental health long after active duty ends. Occupations involving heavy machinery and transportation, such as truck driving or factory work, also carry their own dangers. Long hours, chronic sleep deprivation, and repetitive strain injuries are common. Road accidents, machinery malfunctions, and chemical spills can turn routine work into sudden, life-threatening scenarios. These jobs are often performed in isolated or understaffed environments where help isn't immediately available, making any accident more likely to result in severe consequences. Even outside of physical danger, these jobs often come with high levels of chronic stress, which can lead to hypertension, cardiovascular disease, and weakened immune responses. Shift work, irregular sleep, and poor diets, all common in labor-intensive professions, contribute to deteriorating health over time. Many men in such roles do not have the luxury of regular health checkups or the time to recover from injuries and illnesses, further exacerbating the risks. Moreover, there is often a cultural pressure among men in dangerous professions to suppress pain, avoid complaints, and push through injuries. This attitude can lead to untreated conditions, worsening long-term health outcomes. The same stoicism that makes these men admired for their bravery can ironically be a barrier to proper care and self-preservation. When combined with the physical risks of the job itself, this mindset creates a perfect storm that contributes to high rates of occupational mortality and a shorter overall lifespan. Another compelling factor contributing to women's longer life expectancy is the strength and depth of their social and emotional connections. Numerous studies in sociology, psychology, and public health have consistently shown that individuals with strong social networks tend to live longer, healthier lives. And women across nearly all cultures tend to nurture these networks more effectively than men. Emotional support, companionship, and a sense of belonging all play vital roles in mental and physical well-being, and these are areas where women often excel. From an early age, girls are often encouraged, both implicitly and explicitly, to be expressive, empathetic, and communicative. These traits lay the foundation for building lasting, emotionally rich relationships with family, friends, and community members. Women tend to reach out more frequently, confide in others during stressful times, and offer emotional support in return. These connections become a buffer against stress, anxiety, and depression, all of which can have harmful physiological effects when left unmanaged over time. In contrast, men are often raised under social expectations that promote stoicism, independence, and emotional restraint. While not inherently harmful, these traits can lead to emotional isolation if not balanced with healthy outlets for connection. Many men find it more difficult to open up about their vulnerabilities, especially emotional or psychological challenges. As a result, they are more likely to suffer silently during times of hardship, without the support systems that women more commonly access and maintain throughout their lives. Research has shown that social isolation is a major risk factor for early death, comparable to smoking or obesity. People who feel lonely or disconnected experience higher rates of cardiovascular disease, weakened immune response, and even cognitive decline. Women's ability to foster and maintain frequent social interactions, whether through regular phone calls, group activities, or caregiving roles, gives them a protective layer that shields them from some of the most destructive effects of isolation and loneliness. Moreover, women are often the primary caregivers in families for children, elderly parents, and even spouses. While caregiving can be physically and emotionally taxing, it also reinforces social bonds and a sense of purpose, both of which are associated with longer lifespan. Women in caregiving roles stay more engaged with life and are more connected to others, which supports better mental health and offers emotional fulfillment that can contribute to longevity. Women also tend to participate more in community and religious activities, which serve as important social anchors. These activities promote interaction, collective identity, and mutual support, particularly in later life when other sources of social engagement, such as work, may decline. In contrast, men often struggle more with maintaining meaningful connections after retirement or the loss of a spouse, which can lead to increased loneliness, depression, and physical deterioration. The ability to talk openly about emotions and seek help is another advantage that stems from women's social strengths. Women are more likely to discuss health concerns with others, encourage each other to seek medical or psychological help, and be proactive in sharing resources or coping strategies. This openness not only promotes early detection of health issues, but also reduces the stigma associated with emotional vulnerability and seeking care, an important factor in long-term well-being. Ultimately, the consistent investment women make in their emotional relationships pays long-term dividends. These networks provide encouragement during difficult times, help them navigate life's transitions, and offer critical support in moments of illness or aging. Whether through a close-knit circle of friends, a strong family unit, or active participation in community life, women's social connectedness serves as both a psychological cushion and a biological safeguard, quietly but powerfully contributing to their extended life expectancy. An important factor influencing the longevity gap between men and women is the difference in how each sex handles stress, both biologically and behaviorally. Chronic stress is a well-known contributor to numerous health problems, including heart disease, weakened immune function, mental health disorders, and premature aging. Women, by nature and nurture, tend to develop coping mechanisms and physiological responses that can mitigate the harmful effects of stress more effectively than men. From a biological perspective, research shows that women's stress response systems are distinct from men's. When confronted with stress, men typically exhibit the classic fight or flight response, characterized by the release of adrenaline and cortisol, increased heart rate, and heightened aggression or withdrawal. This acute stress response, while useful in short bursts, can be damaging if activated frequently or chronically, leading to increased risks of hypertension, cardiovascular problems, and anxiety disorders. Women, on the other hand, often engage a different stress response mechanism, referred to as tend and befriend. Instead of reacting with aggression or isolation, women tend to seek social support, nurture relationships, and engage in caregiving behaviors. This response is believed to be linked to the hormone oxytocin, which promotes bonding and reduces anxiety. The biological tendency to turn toward others for comfort and assistance helps women reduce stress hormone levels and buffer the physiological impact of stress over time. This behavioral difference means women often maintain stronger social networks, which are critical for emotional resilience. Sharing problems, seeking advice, or simply talking about worries helps women process stressful experiences more effectively. Men, conditioned to suppress vulnerability, often internalize stress or express it through risky behaviors such as substance abuse or aggression, which can compound health problems and shorten lifespan. Moreover, women tend to be more proactive in adopting stress-reducing practices, such as mindfulness, relaxation techniques, and regular social activities. They are more likely to engage in behaviors that promote mental health, including seeking therapy or counseling when needed. This willingness to address emotional challenges contributes to better long-term psychological health, which in turn supports physical well-being. Physiologically, women's bodies appear more adept at recovering from stress. Studies have found that women often exhibit quicker declines in cortisol levels after stressful events compared to men. This faster recovery reduces the harmful wear and tear on the body's systems caused by prolonged exposure to stress hormones. Over time, this translates to lower risks of stress hormone and slower aging. The way men cope with stress, often characterized by bottling up emotions or engaging in competitive high-risk behaviors, may exacerbate stress health problems. Men's higher rates of hypertension, heart attacks, and stroke have been linked to chronic stress combined with poor coping mechanisms. Furthermore, men's tendency to avoid discussing mental health issues leads to untreated depression and anxiety, which are risk factors for suicide, a cause of premature death, notably higher in men. In sum, the differences in stress response and coping strategies between men and women create a significant health disparity. Women's biologically and socially supported tendencies to seek connection, nurture relationships, and employ effective coping skills contribute to lower levels of chronic stress and better overall health. This advantage in handling stress plays a crucial role in their longer average lifespans, as it shields them from many of the damaging consequences of prolonged stress exposure. In conclusion, the reasons why women tend to live longer than men are complex and multifaceted. From the biological protection offered by hormones like estrogen to the social advantages of stronger emotional networks and healthier stress management, women benefit from a range of factors that contribute to their longevity. Men's higher engagement in risky behaviors, greater exposure to dangerous jobs, and reluctance to seek medical care further widen the lifespan gap. Understanding these differences is crucial, not only to appreciate the unique challenges each gender faces, but also to encourage positive changes. By addressing risky behaviors, promoting better healthcare habits, and fostering stronger social connections, we can work towards improving the health and longevity of everyone, regardless of gender. Ultimately, this knowledge empowers us to make informed choices and support one another in living longer, healthier lives.